You're listening to Ka-Pow, the pop culture podcast. Comics, television, movies, and more. If it impacts fan culture, we have something to say about it. And now, your hosts, Michael, Jordan, Cliff, and Seth.
Hey everybody, welcome back once again. It's your friends at Ka-Pow, the pop culture podcast. My name's Jordan Lowe.
Cliff Barnes.
I'm the illustrious Michael K. Easton.
Cut that out. I'm Seth.
Don't tamp his creativity. Let him be
true.
him.
Yeah. Be you.
But not to you. Just,
Yeah.
you know.
Could you be less you?
So we thank you for listening. We thank you for tuning in, being loyal listeners. And we really thank our patrons. It's $1 a month. It gets you access to a secret Facebook page. You get to vote in our polls when we do a one job. You get a say in it. You get
Sounds
access
cool.
to us. You get some behind the scenes stuff. You get the video of these Zoom calls that we record. So you get to watch us as we do the podcast. You get intimate access to us.
Security
on our day-to-day
footage
lives.
of Michael's office.
Mm-hmm.
Right. You get Michael
24
making
hours a
faces.
day. Some people subscribe to the Owl's Nest, watching them baby owls grow up. Some people get Michael's room.
So I don't know what more you could get for $1 unless it involves trivia. We have not
Ooh.
really talked much about this, but we have done some patron trivia nights.
That's the sweet spot. You know, for $1, not only do you get to pay $1, you get to run a trivia night for us.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah,
put you
how
to
did we
work.
rope in a patron into running the whole thing?
I know. It's
So
pretty
yeah,
sweet.
we kind of log into Zoom. We have pop culture trivia. We have some laughs. We learn some things. It's really fun. We don't do it all the time, but it's a once in a while treat. And all our patrons are invited anytime. Not everybody could make it to this last one though. There were some really good questions involved, and the one was Disney related.
Uh-oh.
And Justin was not sure of the answer.
I thought this was a great question.
Yeah, he said I really want Cliff's perspective on this one because he wanted to call for a review from the umpire. So
I feel like the pressure is on. Like I have to know something here.
Yeah.
Well, the
If
question
you know
was-
this, I'll be. You get the golf clap.
it was, what was the first animated Disney feature not based on an existing story, like a fairy tale or not something that already existed. The first original story that became an animated Disney feature film.
Okay, feature film.
Yeah.
I feel like there was also I don't want to leave him out to dry. There was a hint in there also about, he said it wasn't based on anything, although he did say something about possibly some people had said maybe it felt a little biblical or Shakespearean.
The first
I
thing
think that was he kind of said something like that.
Right.
the first thing I would think of would be Fantasia. But in the 1940s, those war years, they released several clip features that were several smaller stories jammed together into a feature film.
Well, don't break your brain because it's not Fantasia. So go somewhere else.
Okay. So, feature film, was it Saludos Amigos?
I think Cliff knows so much about Disney, like he's overthinking it.
Okay, I'm obviously overthinking it.
But did Justin even say what he thought it was? I don't remember if he ever did say for sure, but it's more modern. It's later.
Oh, it's
later
more modern?
years.
Somebody thought they were going to say the three, what is
Was
that?
Was
Caballeros.
that might have been
Yeah.
his.
I don't know whether it was him or who said that.
Yeah, so there was Saludos Amigos, which wasn't fully animated, and then you had that was followed by the 3 Caballeros as part of that trip to South America that Walt and a bunch of animators, people from the company took. So that was the byproduct of that.
Not according to our quiz master. It's
we had
else.
Melody Time and those type of films too, which all came out about that same time when, the studio was taken over by the US government. So, but if it's more modern,
This is fun.
I don't know. Just tell me.
Jared, the quiz master, says it's Lion King.
That was going to be my guess.
Yep. I didn't hear you say anything.
So I look on your face, I feel like you agree with Justin that maybe that's not technically correct.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I thought about it afterwards. And I was like, really? All these things were based on something? And then you think about, obviously the Jungle Book and so on and so on. But it's not. I asked Nick the other day after we had done that what he thought, and he doesn't freaking have any idea. But he's like, I don't know, Bambi, and I was like, no, that's based on something. But what was so funny to me is it was like yesterday. You know how you hear a word or you see something and then you see it all the time. I'm scrolling through my Twitter and there's a picture of Carrie Fisher reading Bambi, the book Bambi, like from 1920 something, and I'm like, I didn't even know that was a book. And until the other day, that's funny.
Yeah, because it kind of popped in my head. I was doing the same thing. I'm like, Jungle Book, no. 101 Dalmatians, no. Peter Pan, no.
It just shows how unoriginal Disney is.
I really thought The Lion King was based off of a Japanese property.
I threw that out and nobody knew what I was talking about. Kimba the White Lion.
Yeah.
Was the controversy that it was very similar.
Maybe they haven't done it yet.
The guy who created Astro Boy.
Maybe they haven't had anything original yet.
We also got asked about what were the 5 spin-offs of Happy Days.
Yeah.
And this became a half hour of our night.
Yeah, that was a mess. While it's a good question, it's not.
Because there are 3 that everyone knew, and then there were 2 that were just crazy obscure.
Yeah.
You can look those up on your own time or join us on our next trivia. But don't shout out if you know it, but this was our final question. In the 1980s Mr. T cartoon.
Oh,
don't shout it out.
This is a sterling question. This doesn't get any better. The
cartoon was about Mr. T and a group of kids that he was the coach of. What sport was he the coach of for these kids? Would you know that if someone asked?
Yeah.
Michael, immediately. I knew Michael would know.
Cliff, do you have any? Oh, they would have. They both knew it.
All right, they got it.
Nobody got it. We didn't get it. We said basketball.
I pity the fool.
I can remember as soon as he told us the answer. Of course, you remember that. It was just so generic feeling.
I can even remember the jackets they wore with the stars and the red and blue.
And the dog had a mohawk.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was just sitting there like nothing makes sense. I couldn't imagine him like swim faster laps, fool. Like he couldn't be a swim coach. I just couldn't picture Mr. T coaching anything. It's like I guess gymnastics makes as much sense as anything.
Right.
That's
hilarious. So, twist of fate. Somehow, I was dumb enough to volunteer to do the next trivia night. So because I kind of feel bad that Jared keeps having to do this and not get to play. Yeah. So I'm gonna try to step up, and I think I've got like 2 questions ready. but I every other day I think, hey, I need to think of a question. So here maybe in the next month or so we'll have another trivia night. So if you're hearing this and you're not a patron, get that $1 in, and we will let you know on the secret Facebook page, and you can join us. It will be very pop culture-y, catered to old men.
And the stakes could not be lower.
Oh,
There's nothing on the
I have
line.
no idea.
No one is judging you by how much or how little you know. It's all just fun.
Right. Yeah, it's just for fun. So heck yeah. And there's always at least one Jesse there.
That's right.
Speaking of Jesse, I'm gonna give props to Jesse. There's there's curated lists or pages, things you go to, you get like the cream of the crop. And there is a Facebook page that I do not follow, but the OJ follows, and it is two guys dancing to a different song, but it's one video of these old guys. This is a couple old guys dancing or whatever, and like clogging looking thing. And then I'm sure you guys have seen it, you know what I'm talking about. But then they keep putting different songs overlapping it. I don't even know what the original song was, but right when the song kicks in, this he waves in this other guy, and that guy comes in and he's dancing, and it's so good. But there's like 200 or around 200 or some of them, but the only ones I will watch are ones that Jesse shares. I don't follow the page. I let him curate the list that I need to see. So when he shares it, that's what I see. And so far, he is killing it.
Good work.
Oh, all right. So it's time for time. It's time for some time.
It's just a jump to the left. With your hands on your hips.
I read another book about time travel. It is a famous one you've probably heard of. Kurt Vonnegut, Slaughterhouse-Five. Billy became unstuck in time. Billy Pilgrim. Have you read this, Jordan? This feels like you would have read this.
I've read several Vonnegut books, but for some reason I haven't read that one. I just never have.
This is the
found
only
it
one
in
I've
a
ever read.
used place.
But it's, I've always heard of it my whole life. I know they made a movie I've never seen about it or whatever. But it's from like 1966. It's very anti-war. Billy Pilgrim is like a soldier, didn't really want to fight, kind of refused to, and but it's just about his life, and the slaughterhouse is just somewhere that these soldiers were at, or prisoners at one time in the story. But it's the whole gist basically is he believes he was taken by aliens, like it almost sounds like the Mandalorians or something. I don't even know. But they, keep him in a cage, bring a porn star to him to have sex with him. It's not that's not a big part of the story, but it's worth mentioning. And but it's like it tells his entire life basically. But the way the time travel works for him is he is able to access all time is happening at once for him. Okay, that's the best way to explain it. He can just at one moment he's in one spot in his life, and he's also somewhere else doing something else, and it's
so not the typical
right.
point-to-point time travel story.
Correct.
This one's a more quantum.
Yeah, and it is very anti-war, just and has it's not the best thing I ever read, but it's short, which is, man, if it's short, there you go. You made the episode. but it's I could see why it's a classic. For 1966, I'm sure it was very strange to have something like this, and it kept me interested. It's not on the top of my list or anything, but I'm glad I read it. And it's another different way to tell a time travel story and have a little theme to it of trying to be anti-war. And so we're going to do one of our segments we haven't done for a couple weeks here, where you get to know us a little better. You down with KPP?
Yeah, you know me.
What the hell is wrong with you people?
What's wrong with you? What is wrong with you?
I hate so much about the things that you choose to be.
Cliff, what's the question this time?
That one's tied into the TV stuff.
Oh, I screwed it up. You have to cut that out. I messed it up. Okay, so whatever you were going to do now.
Take two. Hey, we haven't talked comic books in a while.
Ooh.
Comics.
There's not a whole lot going on. So
That's what this all build-up was for?
This won't take a whole
going
episode.
on.
There's not a whole lot, but it's major. The few things that are happening are pretty major. As we record now, it would have been the weekend of Baltimore Comic Con. So they've gone virtual like everyone else has. They're live streaming. They've got 2 days worth of panels that are live streaming with a bunch of big name people. That's where they give out the Ringo Awards, named after Mike Waringo, the artist. So those will all be virtual again. So again, it's it's usually a big weekend for news and announcements, and a whole lot of people on the East Coast go to this, but not this year.
Yeah, I think I wanted to go last year after I had went to that one in North Carolina or whatever, and HeroCon or what, but then everything got screwed up. So
it is one of these shows still, without being jerks about it, it's still like a comic con. It's not a whole lot of media stuff. So most of the guests are comic creators. So it has kept the comic focus. I got some Perlmutter news.
Perlmutter.
Oh, please
Are you
do.
awake? I was just making sure Cliff was awake. So Ike and Laura Perlmutter are.
Did we know that?
his
Laura?
wife, Laura.
Yeah, did we know? Have we delved into Laura Perlmutter?
I did. I have done the work. I've done the research.
He's 12 intern.
So they led the world in donations in September to the America First Action Super PAC, a Republican fundraising super PAC who is headed by Linda McMahon, who WWE's Vince McMahon, his wife, is the CEO of this organization. So as the election nears, as we record this, the election is very, very near. We hope by the time you hear this, it's all over.
Yeah.
The whole thing.
So, donations are public knowledge. So in the last 3.5 years, the Perlmutters have donated somewhere between 2.5 and 3 million to right-wing PACs. Well, according to the Washington Post, they donated 15 million just in September.
Yeah.
They quintupled more than 3 years of donations in 1 month. So in September, the PAC took in a total of 43 million, and 15 of it was just from the Perlmutters. So I can't do the math on that, but it's a pretty big percentage.
Is he still involved with the VA?
I haven't heard a whole lot.
I haven't either.
In charge of it or something.
Yeah.
I think he's. I'm sure he's still part of the Mar-a-Lago crew that the brain trust down there. But I haven't heard any news that he's involved with, which I'm sure is how he wants it. He doesn't want to be in the news.
Always lingering in the shadows.
Right. So something has happened that I think has maybe panicked the Perlmutters to infuse quite a bit of cash. So timely as always, they have poured a whole lot of money into this last month of the election. we'll see where all those Marvel bucks, what good it does. We don't know.
Yeah, I could just see they're like, hey, who paid us in Marvel bucks? Put it with the camel cash. We can't get anything with it.
All right, so I have been closed on Monday since I reopened from the pandemic. It's kind of nice to have 2 days a week off, have an actual weekend. But last Monday, 3 pieces of news dropped on the same day, on my day off. Each worse than the last. So the 3 pieces of news I got, there's a new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles book coming out, a miniseries called The Last Ronin. And it was an idea that Eastman and Laird had way back in the day to do a Dark Knight Returns sort of story where it's set in the future. Only one turtle has survived. He's got all 4 of their weapons, and he's become, there's a future wasteland that he has to survive. So it was an idea they had, and they never did anything with it. So one of them dug it out recently, like, oh, that was a pretty cool idea. And now they have fleshed it out and created it, turned it into a book. So it had Laird's blessing. Eastman co-wrote it and helped lay it out. And it was getting a whole lot of buzz. They switched artists before it came out and had to scrap some of the art that was originally done, so it got delayed a month. Well, Monday I heard it's going to be allocated because they set the print run before they got the orders in. So they printed the book, and then the orders came in like, oh, wow, we didn't make enough. So stores aren't getting all the ones they ordered. So what happens then? eBay prices spike through the roof because people are afraid they're not going to be able to get this book.
Yep.
So now here I am. It comes out as we record next week, so I haven't had a chance to read it. And this was, I thought was good. I ordered pretty heavy on it, especially compared to what I normally order for the Turtles. And this was the sort of book I would be able to recommend people. It's a standalone thing. You don't have to have read the last 10 years of Turtles to get it. I thought it was going to be a big hit. Like I've talked before, the comic industry is in need of hits right now. And I thought this was going to be one. And I don't know. So now the buzz is, how valuable is this book going to be? Not how cool is it going to be? How excited am I to read it and check it out and see what's happening? So not terribly pleased about that. Then they...
Jordan, could you reserve me a copy of that?
If there's any that are dented from the box, I'll see if there's any.
So do we know? Do we know who the last turtle standing is?
No, I don't know if someone's cracked it or not. But as far as the solicitations, they have. That's part of the mystery. It's just everything's kind of shadowy, and it's so the turtle looks kind of older, so there's no way to really see from the cover or what they've released yet. So
what's your guess? I want your official guess right now.
Leonardo.
My guess would be Raphael, because that's always there.
It's always Raphael.
Eastman and Laird's favorite turtle was Raphael. Yeah. But I thought Michelangelo would be more interesting as, the aged, grizzled, the fun guy has to become the serious, grim Dark Knight.
There's always been like a zen about Michelangelo. Like he's goofy and no one believes like he can be taken seriously. But
trust me, we all know who the Michelangelo is.
But he does have that zen quality to him.
Well, I've got news for you guys. It's Mitch McConnell.
He's a lizard. He's not a turtle.
So that same day, I learned Marvel Unlimited, which is the digital service that you pay a fee to, and you can go back and read the archives of older Marvel comics. They always, there's a publication delay of 6 months. So 6 months after a comic comes out in print, it comes up to Marvel Unlimited. Marvel's changing that to 3 months now. So 3 months after a comic is on my shelf, it is basically free to read digitally on Marvel Unlimited. So that's another hit toward brick and mortar shops.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the 1-2 punch, and then the one in the gut.
Ooh!
Remember DC left Diamond and went to 2 other distributors.
Yep.
Remember how that happened?
Yeah.
Now there can be only what? UCS distributors. The one I picked is going out of business.
Gatorade everywhere.
So apparently it's coming. It's kind of a he said, she said sort of thing so far. I don't know officially, but what I'm reading is there was kind of a 6-month contract. It wasn't a long-term thing. DC did this so fast and so by the skin of their teeth. They just gave these 2 companies 6 months. And so all the headlines came out say, DC ditching UCS. And what I just read today was UCS decided not to re-up. They either couldn't handle the size and scope of this, or they weren't making enough money, or who knows. But UCS is bowing out. So as of January 1st, I have to switch to yet another distributor, and I have to switch everything over to Lunar. So when my shipment came in yesterday from UCS, and they've been praised for how they pack the boxes and everything's so carefully laid out, and the variants come in a protective sleeve and then in another cardboard box. My variant was just thrown in there with everything else. I'm like, they have already stopped carrying.
They're out.
Yeah, so yeah, my fancy 1 in 25 variant is just in the bottom of the box with everything else. So good luck to all the shops out there who have to do this a second time. So I saw several comments in the comment sections were like, oh, they'll be back to Diamond within 3 months. Like, Diamond is the only one that has the infrastructure to do this, and Lunar is going to get swamped with all these new accounts, and we'll never be able to pull it off, and shipping's going to be screwed up, and everything's going to be messed up. So who knows? But I just know I have a whole lot more paperwork to learn, and I was just learning to get into the flow of this other one, and now I got to switch again.
Well, have you read the Bleeding Cool article on this about Lunar?
They put one out today, and I think one a couple days ago.
Well, because I have it pulled up, and they were talking about having criteria like focusing on brick and mortar stores and like focusing on like you couldn't have like an eBay store, and it has to be brick and mortar.
Yeah, they put a couple new rules in. They added minimums for the first time. So you have to order a minimum of $125 retail every week, or $500 a month. Or if you don't order that much, they'll just wait a week and like package 2 weeks together. So they're not shipping out little shipments.
Mm-hmm.
Well, which
shouldn't affect most stores. What's that?
Well, that's something you complain about, like them shipping.
Yeah. But I'd hate to be a week late on merchandise whenever it comes.
Did we, speaking of that Marvel Unlimited app, did we ever mention on the podcast about DC Universe changing what that service is, going to a, digital comics and moving all their television shows to, and movies to HBO Max?
We talked when HBO Max launched that we knew all the video stuff was going that direction, but we weren't sure what was going to happen with the app.
So this Marvel thing obviously a combatant to the DC digital service?
Marvel's has been around longer, actually.
Right. It's been around a long time.
And people said, why doesn't DC have one of these?
But now they're going to be, instead of 6 months, they're, just going to be 3 months behind.
Yeah. And I don't know what, I'm sure they have a lot, but I don't know if they have everything or if it rotates in and out. I don't know anything about it.
It's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot on DC Universe to, if you wanted to sit down, you would have plenty to keep you busy for some time.
But yeah, like Michael said, they are, and they're only selling to brick and mortar stores now or established online retailers. No, if you're just an eBay reseller or sometimes buying clubs, a bunch of guys will get together and order everything wholesale if they buy a lot of comics. So you're not going to be able to get your DC books that way anymore. I'm sure there's ways around that if you're nefarious enough to get them. But so yeah, more shakeups from the DC side of things. And anybody reading anything recently?
I've been digging the death metal. There was that Flash one shot. It was it Speed Metal?
Speed Metal, right?
Yeah. It was. The complaint I have about this crisis is it's too contained. Like, a crisis is supposed to be like having every single possible character. Like, George Perez was unprecedented in drawing everyone, and all these artists are like, we don't have time for that. So it's focused on a more like core group, and like
they always pick out a little team and add some, core 3, and then they'll throw in a Swamp Thing or whatever. They just pick a few at random. It seems like.
But there was a touching moment in Speed Metal that I, as a longtime Flash fan, really enjoyed and loved, of how they've screwed up the timeline of the Flash ever since 52 started. It was a very touching, loving moment. So it dwells into basically why Wally West. What? Oh, kiss my ass.
We didn't say anything.
Nobody said anything.
It's horrible.
It was a patron
all your
look.
guys' faces.
We were just giving looks for the patrons.
Yeah, I get you. But anyway.
You even made fun of it earlier. You set that up.
You set it.
You set it up. Go on. I want to hear the moment.
But anyway, with there being Barry Allen, why does there need to be a Wally West? That's the problem. Ever since they brought him back.
Yeah.
Kills the character Wally West. And
we've got a Ronald P. Tramp. Why do we need a Michael Case?
Well, that's a longer conversation. But did this kind of like showcase that dynamic of how each character thinks and their ideology of how to proceed with like the impending doom that's going on? So there was that nice touching moment of like pulling back and forth of who was right, who was wrong. And then, just like a family, as you argue, like you make up in the end, and, they make up in the end and fight on as a family, basically.
Are people coming in, are they excited about this whole Robin King thing? Because I'm seeing it everywhere, all over, social media and stuff.
I've seen nothing.
They were his first appearance, of course. Speculators came in to scoop up Robin King's first appearance. The death metal stuff was really hot when it first came out, and it's still pretty good seller, but it kind of it slowed down a little bit. There's a whole lot of books that it ties into, so it couldn't keep up that momentum. But yeah, the Robin King is a version of Robin from one of the dark multiverses where he killed his own parents in the alley and then planted the gun on a guy. And then was, basically Alfred's trying to raise him, and he's a little horror show, and he has spent his entire Wayne fortune creating the utility belt full of things that could kill any member of the Justice League. So he is looking for kryptonite and all the worst stuff in the multiverse that could kill all the adults.
Huh.
He's taking them out.
Yeah, that's this whole thing. It seemed like just a fun, weird, dark Elseworlds type thing, but it seems to be leading, like all the stuff coming after this seems like something's going to happen in this that kind of either resets things or restarts things or kicks off something big. So it seems like there are stakes to this, because my first few chapters reading it, it's like, okay, this is just fun, but it's not important. But it does seem like it's going to have an impact in the DC universe at large.
I do like how they kind of explain why each crisis has happened, why it exists, and what it means to the whole concept of everything that has gone on. So it doesn't do away with any of the past events, but they're all tying into what is it, future state? Like
was going to be the 5G thing, and now it's future state.
They've smashed it into like 2 issues of the future of the DC universe and what happens, which I was reading over some of that. Some of it looks pretty cool and interesting. I wish they would have went along with their original 5G plans. I was really excited for that, but this looks to be, because that's what I was like reading about that. Like, are they going to reset it, or what's going on? But they keep going back to like they're fixing what they broke. Like it's so who knows.
Cool.
So the other big release, we got Rorschach issue 1 came out.
Oh yeah, I wanted to hear whether that's worth anything.
It's a 12-issue series by Tom King and Jorge Fornes. I'm not sure. It was not what I expected. It didn't feel very Watchmen-y, but it didn't feel really Tom King-y either, if that makes any sense.
When is it set? What's the deal?
It is set modern day, but I was like a dozen pages into it before I realized it. Because I kind of forgot the Watchmen universe, technology didn't stick with us.
Right.
So the guy's got a beeper, all the phones have dials and cords. Like, he kind of looks like Robert Redford in the 80s. Like, they've got long sideburns and long hair. And like,
yeah.
I was like, oh, right, this is set in 2020. So the idea is someone tries to assassinate a politician in modern day. So it's been 35 years since Rorschach was killed, and no one knew, no one in the world knows where he is, but no one's seen him in 35 years. And they basically find Walter Kovacs' fingerprints. So he is the prime suspect for a murder that he couldn't possibly have committed. Or attempted murder, I guess. So I don't know. It was a very slow burn first issue. It didn't have a whole lot of superhero-y type stuff or even Watchmen-y type stuff. And it kind of focused on more of the investigation and the mystery of it all. So we'll see, I guess. We got another 11 issues to go. Launched the Walking Dead Deluxe. These are the colorized version. They're reprinting every issue of Walking Dead. The original are black and white with grayscale. These are full color now for the first time ever.
Did you look at that, Michael?
Huh?
Did you look at those? Did you see those?
No, not yet.
Yeah, I looked at them. It's an interesting idea because, well, first off, that's a great way to make some money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't buy it once, buy it twice.
Yeah.
And because each one, I think issue 1 had 5 or 6 variant covers. That if you're a completist, you're going to want all those. So each one has kind of basically the original cover, but just touched up.
They were all
pretty. A David Finch cover. It's sort of like a big moment from that issue, in hindsight. And then Charlie Adlar's doing a connecting cover for the first 6 issues. He didn't draw. He's doing like a panoramic 6-issue connecting version for the variants.
I think I was saying to you, I'm sure there's people that are just like, oh, this is sacrilegious. This was always meant to be in black and white, but it got confusing at times reading Walking Dead, who was who, because that's all you were going on. And I imagine this clears up a lot, makes people more distinct to be able to tell the difference as this story goes on. I could be wrong, but I had trouble sometimes following who some of these secondary characters were, especially after a month has gone by.
Right.
Well, the show is in color, and it has that same problem.
True.
I can't figure out who is who. But,
True.
Yeah, I definitely hear what you're saying with the art, too. But it had Kirkman wrote a long essay in this one that I thought was really interesting. And first thing he says is there are no plans to collect these as trades. He said the black and white ones are the books. So if you're wanting to have these in your library, those are the originals. This is just a bonus thing.
Don't throw this back in my face.
Yeah, he's going. They will eventually. There'll be an omnibus, but he says there's no. Walking Dead was so clockwork. 6 months, 6 issues, then a trade. Then after a year, a hardcover with 12 issues. It was boom, boom, boom. So not having any plan and for the future is at least saying something.
Means you better buy it.
Yeah, it'll be at least a year. But he said so many people over the years have come up to him and say, I'd like to read the comic, but I just can't do black and white. There's people who just
I believe it.
aren't into it, or it hurts their eyes, or whatever. And he said, he admitted it was to save money at the beginning. It was cheaper to make black and white. He didn't know how long it was going to last. And it was originally supposed to be Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah.
Because that's in the public domain. It was supposed to be a Night of the Living Dead comic. And he thought the black and white matched that movie.
Yeah.
So he kind of explained his reasons for the past and the present. And each issue is going to have his handwritten notes. So he is very old school, and with a pencil and paper writes out, 1 to 20 page numbers. Page 1, Rick wakes up. Page 2, and like he plots out the book that way. And he says he's done that from issue 1 till the last issue. And he has all these handwritten notes. And he said it's been fun going back and looking at them. So he did kind of a commentary explaining what he meant by this. So you're going to be able to see what changed, what he scribbled out, what was altered or what was on the cutting room floor, basically. So it's not just a cash grab. There's interesting bonus stuff involved, and it's kind of neat.
Well, I mean, I joke about that, but it's real. Everybody wins here. They make money. Comic shops make money. Fans, that if you want it, it's available. I mean, this is a good idea. I just think it's funny because it's such a good idea. Why? I wonder how long ago they thought of it.
They said he's been the colorist has been working on it. He said for literally years. Like he said he has like the first 50 colored already or something. So it has
exactly.
They're not just throwing. It's basically he's been doing it between other jobs and stuff. So it's been in the works. Image had a couple other biggies. The Department of Truth just launched. James Tynion IV, who is a big writer on Batman right now, and artist Martin Simmons. This is the one about conspiracy theories. And basically the idea is, in this world, if enough people believe in it, it becomes real. So there is this department of like secret agents making sure the crazies don't get too crazy. So like in the first one, there's like a plane full of people going to this flat Earth conference. And they're like, if these people all believe, the Earth's going to turn flat, basically. It's a little more nuanced than that, but that's the idea. And then there was a big twist at the end, if you want me to spoil it.
Yeah, I'm pro spoilers.
So, at the end of issue 1, you find out the head of this department is Lee Harvey Oswald.
What?
I was just going to say something about Lee Harvey Oswald.
So it's going to tackle aliens and assassinations and all the crazy conspiracy theories in American history. It's going to
sounds like a book I should read.
That sounds great. I want to do a pitch here in the middle of everything. This is anybody that hears this. I'm curious. I want to know you guys' opinion and any listeners' opinion. If you want to put comment on Facebook or the like.
So this is a new segment called "Yeah, You Pitch Me."
You pitch me. I'm pitching this. I want to know whether anyone has any interest, because we cannot do this at all, and that's also fine. Do you guys? I had slightly mentioned this before, but do you guys have any interest in playing an RPG? The pitch I would give you is post-apocalypse. Cliff, Jordan, and Ronald P. Tramp are in a post-apocalyptic future RPG.
I'm not a gamer per se.
Yeah, I know you guys don't really have any experience. Cliff's never played. Jordan has minimal. Michael has played minimally. Correct? Didn't you play with us one time?
On and off. I would be up for doing it totally in character the whole entire time.
I felt like that was a no-brainer. Okay, I was just curious. And any thoughts? I'm curious if literally anyone has anything pro about this. Like, if no one says anything, I don't think it's gonna happen. Like, literally, someone out there is gonna have to say, "I want this." Okay.
And
if no one says that.
You buried it at the tail end
of
a comic book section that we assume everyone turns off.
Yeah. That's how bad. That's how much work is involved. So if not one person says, "Hey, I would like to see that or listen to that," then maybe it'll happen. All right, sorry. Carry on.
Then there's another Image book. This could be a big one. I'm not sure about it. Donnie Cates and Jeff Shaw crossover. No one quite knows what this is about, but it's got a whole lot of buzz.
It's supposed to be as big as anything ever was. Like it's supposed, as far as comics go, it's supposed to be like as big as the original Crisis, because I've been reading into this, and but again, it's very vague. Like they're like, this is the biggest thing ever.
Well, I have read issue 1. I got a PDF of it.
Ooh.
So I have a little knowledge. It might be out by the time this comes out. Who knows? It comes out very soon, so it's on the horizon. This issue 1, the final order cutoff's already passed. It sold 150,000 copies. This is the biggest seller for Image since Danger Girl in 1998. This is a quantity of books Image has not sold in an awful long time. It just broke the record. Mark Miller's his first book from the Netflix line, The Magic Order, sold like 140,000 copies. But I learned a funny story about that one. They had a comic convention, Reed Pop, who puts on a bunch of different shows, order 100,000 copies as giveaways to their cons. So they fudged the numbers in order for Mark Miller to have, a bunch of press releases about having a great, record-breaking thing. Then the books came out, and it featured male nudity. So the con said, we can't give these away. So they pulped 100,000 books.
Wow.
So Mark Miller got all the press. The Comic-Con lost a whole bunch of money, and no one ever talks about the Magic Order.
Jeez.
That's just a sidebar in history. So this is legit numbers. There are over 50 retailer exclusive variant covers, so the numbers are pumped up a bit by all the variants because people think it's going to be a speculator hit as well. But the idea is it's superheroes in the real world, which again is something we've seen a million times.
Never heard of it.
But there's something a little more to it. The first page, when you open it up, it has a quote. And it's a Frederick Wortham quote, the guy who wrote Seduction of the Innocent, that led to all the congressional trials in the 50s. And it was like, comic books are the worst thing for juvenile mind, blah, blah, blah. It's a long quote from Wortham. And then below that, it says, kids love chains, Todd McFarlane. And I was like, I am into this book already. I'm digging it. So the main character is like a comic fan, and there's a comic, and the main setting in this first issue was at a comic shop, and it's basically the sky opened up and all these superheroes flooded through into the real world, and everyone hates them. They destroyed a whole bunch of buildings, killed a bunch of people in this big crisis type war.
Right.
And then some Doctor Strange type character sealed them all in a bubble and said, you guys fight in this bubble and leave us to our own lives.
Okay, so, this is really pissing me off right now.
Is this the Impossible Family?
No, this is going into the backstory of our Heroic 9.0.
Oh, I knew it was. We wrote this.
No, seriously, like our concept behind that was that there was superheroes in the real world, and the physics of that world couldn't handle it, and it was breaking down. So they sealed them into like a pocket universe where they existed, and it erased it from their timeline. Nobody knows that they existed ever. But I'm
picturing the dome from like around Avengers 240 some, that everybody in the dome or whatever.
Yeah. And that was the whole thing about like them turning into, which of course I'm spoiling this series, but who knows when it'll ever come out. So it's not.
It's never happened.
Anyway, but that was the part of that. The whole reason why the kids turned into superheroes is
just tell us.
Villain wanted.
Gave everybody a lot of fucking trouble.
Jordan, do you have a problem with this?
Go for it. Again, it's buried at the tail end in the comic book section. No one listens to it. Only a few people are going to hear it.
The villain is the one that wants the kids to activate this phone to turn them into superheroes because it puts a crack into this pocket universe. Because that's where all the supervillains are. And it slowly starts leaking out to supervillains, and they're trying to get access to, because there's no superpowers in this world. But
go back to finish what you were saying about it, though.
Well, reading it, I actually didn't think of our book reading this, so it's a different enough take.
A little different.
It didn't make me think of, oh no, we're in trouble. So, but the main character is like a fangirl who shops at a comic store, and it's basically since the heroes showed up and everyone hates them, comic sales have tanked, and there's only one, in this big city, there's one surly comic shop owner left who still has like pre-hero comics for sale, and he doesn't tread in the new stuff that's just, it's all, we've gone back to romance and western and non-superhero stuff. So yeah, there's little twists and turns, and now this I don't know for sure. This is not in the first issue. I am just speculating. But Image, when they do a big launch, they send emails to the retailers, and they're pretty much all the same. They have the writer or the artist introduce themselves and say what their book's about, what book is it like, and it's always, if your people like Walking Dead or Saga, they should buy this. It's always, tying into
if you
else.
like the best-selling thing ever,
yeah, that's
you should get this too.
Basically what it is. But when Donny Cates sent his, it was, if you like Spawn, Savage Dragon, Youngblood, Invincible, I listed every Image book in the last 30 years.
Right.
I was like, wait a minute, what is that about? So the title is Crossover, and it involves a whole bunch of superheroes. So the thought is it's just going to be a whole bunch of heroes. And the speculation is it might not just be Image heroes. It might be other companies. Donny Cates works for Marvel. He has a really good relationship with Marvel. So who knows if Spider-Man shows up or something? Because he said he basically said in issue, I forget how he worded it, but it was very funny. It was if you think you know what's going to happen in this book, it happens in issue 4. And if you stick around till issue 6, that's when we break it all, basically. And it said that issue 6 is going to make the news. There's going to be stories on CNN, like something huge.
Oh,
so, like,
good luck.
Yeah,
post-election.
The hype is beyond ridiculous. So it certainly can't live up to it. Reviews are calling it the next Watchmen and all that. So who knows?
Oh my God.
But the first issue I thought was good.
Say again. I apologize. What was it called?
It's just called Crossover.
Oh, okay. I've heard of somebody having an idea like that. They never pursued. Not you. I'm talking about something else.
But yeah, I'm sure it can't live up to this pre-hype. But here we are. This is just, let us bask in this moment of right before it drops.
Put that book on my pull list, Jordan. I want to see how many more ideas it steals from me.
Sons of bitches.
Add to pull. I'll write that in my notes. Okay, I got 2 more. Marvel has not been competing with all this stuff. Their big thing right now is X of Swords, the X-Men crossover. It is 22 chapters long, tying into every X book.
Yikes.
X-Men, we're in the 90s, baby. X-Men, X-Factor, X-Force, the Hellions, the Marauders, Wolverine, Cable. So it's a big mess. I'm not even sure I could explain what's happening. The mutants are all living on the mutant island of Krakoa, and there are these mystical gates they use to transport each other back and forth. Well, there's this other island that used to be part of Krakoa that they had to kind of banish.
Is it the Krakoa?
And millions of years ago, Apocalypse held off an invasion and like sealed all the bad people on this other island in this other realm. and they've spent millennia getting stronger and getting ready to attack us. So something Apocalypse didn't finish years and years and years in the past is coming back to haunt us now. And it's not actually X of Swords, it's 10 of Swords. Like the number X is the number 10. Because that is a tarot card. And people who use tarot cards are inherently clever.
Right.
Like Jonathan Hickman.
Okay. I heard he was a big tarot lady.
All right, last one. Batman 3 Jokers. I just got in issue 3, so it's over. I have read the last one. I don't know. I'm not sure about this book. This is Jeff Johns, the writer, Jason Fabok, the artist. It looks a whole lot like Killing Joke. The pages are laid out the same. It has like a 9-panel grid. The art, the style of the art looks a lot like Killing Joke. The flavor of the story is trying to be Killing Joke, but it's not Killing Joke. Sorry. I don't know how much you would want me to spoil about that one.
Oh, I'll take it all.
All right, we're at the end here, so if you don't want to know the end of the Killing, or listen to me messing that up.
Listen.
If you don't want to know the end of 3 Jokers, tune out now, and we'll see you next time. But
he's not in the business of selling comics anymore. He's just telling you what happened. Wasn't that great? And here's what happened.
Hey, I sold a lot of issues. I sold a lot of issues 1 and 2. So by this point, who cares?
They're gonna read
3's a bonus.
So the idea, it could have been 1 issue. It was 3 oversized issues, and it was all very stylish. And they would have like, a 9-panel grid, and it'll be Batman looking that way, and then Batman looking down, and then a shot of like a light. And then back to Batman. Like, it was a whole lot of filler. The art was beautiful. It looked really cool, but just not a whole lot happened throughout it. But the idea of these 3 Jokers that's been teased forever, they wanted to, quote unquote, build a better Joker. So they were going and finding people and like throwing them in the acid and just creating more Jokers. So one of them got the idea that to be the best Joker, it would have to be somebody who meant something to Bruce Wayne. So they go break, Joe Chill is in prison on his last legs, dying of cancer. And they're like, hey, if we turn Joe Chill into the Joker, that'll be all the terrible things about Joker and then all the psychology that Batman has about Joe Chill. So that it becomes the sort of, can Bruce ever forgive Joe Chill for his actions and not look at him the same way and all this stuff? But
I would have thrown Superman in there.
Oh, that's a sequel, Batman 4 Joker. So, and Red Hood kills one of the Jokers, and
now does he kill the one that killed him?
Yes. No. Yes.
What's
Maybe.
the difference
I think
between the Jokers?
There's like old school criminal Joker, who's just like a gangster.
Right.
There is Killing Joke, psychological nutcase Joker.
Okay, Hawaiian shirt.
Yeah, and then there's like clownish, theatrical 70s Joker. So
Scooby-Doo Joker.
Right. So yeah, he did
rip his face off.
That one's not mentioned. That's like Joker 2.5 or something. So anyway, it all just sort of happens, and none of it doesn't really lead to anything.
You don't call this episode Scooby-Doo Joker. I'm stuck on that. I can't even think. Wow.
So anyway, what people will be talking, like the plot doesn't really change a whole lot about the Joker, but they'll be talking about 2 things. Okay, so here is the major spoiler about this book.
Boom.
Basically, Jason and Barbara are like, well, that's crazy. We still never found out who Joker was. Okay, bye, Bruce. And Bruce admits to Alfred, he says, I'm Batman. I knew who Joker was a week after we found him. So for the entire history of the Batman comics, he's known Joker's real name.
What?
Which doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but So that leads to Bruce goes to Alaska, and it starts flashing back to panels from The Killing Joke, where the Joker finds out his wife and kid are dead. And that's his one bad day that leads to him becoming the Joker. Yeah. Well, his wife and kid were not dead. They were taken into police custody and hidden from him. So Bruce knows his wife and child are alive, living in Alaska, and safe and happy. And the Joker doesn't. So
he one bad dayed the Joker. Took his wife and kid.
Basically, yeah. So
created his own.
Why were they taken into police custody?
Well, some of the flashbacks were like him screaming at her, where he's like, because there's
where's my shirt?
Yeah, it was basically like you never believed in me, and it was like showing he was becoming psychotic. Mm. But yeah, it doesn't quite explain why they would go to these extraordinary lengths before he ever is the Joker. But
right.
Yeah, so yeah, Batman knows everything, and he's part of Joker's origin, I guess, as Joker was to his. I guess I don't know.
This is supposed to be canon.
It's Black Label. It's its own thing, but I'm sure
they all got their dicks out and everything.
The way Killing Joke wasn't originally really
tell which Joker's which.
Is this the one with the shirt or the one with his dick out? No, it's a Scooby-Doo.
Zoinks.
What would you do for a Scooby snack?
Pull that. Pull that comic. I'll read that.
So yeah, this was their huge selling prestige event comic, and I don't know how people are going to take it. I read it last night and was like, oh, okay, I guess. I don't like things that change things I love. Like, when I go back and read Killing Joke, now I'm going to be thinking about this.
Right.
And I don't like that. I don't like retconning stone cold classics.
Yeah.
But it's not so offensive that it ruins anything. So I don't know. It's too fresh to me to know for sure.
So now, to be clear, this is... How many parts were is this over?
Yeah, that was the last. It was just 3 issues.
Okay.
3 Jokers, 3
Wow.
issues.
But it should have been 1.
It could have all fit into one pretty easily, the way Killing Joke did.
Right. Well, you gotta sell some freaking comics here and there.
It should have ended with Jason Todd becoming the Joker.
That was the rumor at the beginning.
I like that idea.
Because they wanted someone who had ties to Bruce. So if they were trying to throw Jason into the acid, it's like, oh, he'd make a great Joker, because something else Bruce failed to do was save him a second time.
Right.
They didn't really pursue that. That was the premise I thought they were hinting at, but it didn't quite go there.
No, when you keep saying they, is this the Court of Owls?
No, it doesn't have anything to do with them. Just the Court of Jokers.
The whole gang.
But yeah, basically the end is there is an original or was an original, but they've made some other ones, so it hints they're not even sure who the original one is.
Oh man,
I think it's Jared Leto.
He's probably had his dick out.
Alright, I feel like this has gotten out of hand.
That's what we wanted. We built up to this.
This wasn't supposed to be an entire episode just about comics, but who knows? When we get to talking comics, who knows what's going
to happen.
Before we started this episode, did Jordan say there's not that much to fill an episode?
Yeah, there was enough for almost an episode.
Yeah, we did it.
All right, let's call it there then, and we won't talk comics for another bit. We will leave that for a while. We'll just drop that there. unless something crazy happens or Perlmutter makes any more news. So.
We like people like these comic episodes.
Yeah,
I hope so. I
like it.
Liked it.
All right, we hope you liked it as well, and we will talk to you soon. My name's Jordan Lowe.
Cliff Barnes.
I am the last Joker of them all.
One tucking his shirt in. I'm Seth. Goodbye forever.
There's a Joker, there's a Toker, there's a Midnight Smoker. Who is the Pompadour of Love?
We know. Same one as a Michelangelo. Bye forever.
Ka-Pow, the pop cultured podcast, is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Sounds, music, and clips played during the podcast are property of copyright holders. All original content is property of www.udownwithkpp.com. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and leave a comment. Ka-Pow, the pop cultured podcast, is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Podbean, Spotify, and wherever podcasts can be found. You can connect with us through social media on Facebook, YouTube, at the Ka-Pow Podcast on Twitter, or email the show, Ka-Pow, the pop cultured podcast, at gmail.com. If you really want to go the extra mile, please sign up to be a patron through the Podbean app or our website, www.udownwithkpp.com, to receive special content and early access to some episodes. We are grateful to anyone that chooses to contribute, but please know that most of our content will always remain free, so please continue to like, comment, and share.